Could you tell us which one is the main focus of the Mingus Dynasty?
The focus of the band itself is, of course, on carrying on with Mingus's legacy, and since the music he wrote, it's kind of like a lot of his stuff is really killing, and we think of it as eternal music. You know, people still play Beethoven and Palestrina and for many centuries, and people do not play it the same way like it was played back then. So we're kind of doing the same. We keeping the legacy alive, one foot in the tradition, but also we look at it from the standpoint of modern day. And all the guys in the band, they are very experienced modern, players. So obviously, we all intook different information than maybe Mingus intook when he was developing. So that's what we're focusing on, playing his music from maybe the outlook of today.
Yeah, that's cool. Thank you. So now you are playing in the Mingus Dynasty. Charles Mingus has been one of the greatest bass player and composer of the last century. How do you feel? How do you approach playing in this band instead of Charles Mingus?
Well, the beauty of it is that in this band, nobody expects me to be like Mingus, in a sense of playing bass like him or having stylistic approach like his. The beauty, another side of the beautiful position is that I can't go back and listen to him and let whatever he played sink into my mind. And matter of fact, since I've been in the band, and it's been a blessing. 15 years ago, this spring, I feel being greatly influenced by him, and I'm trying to research things that he did and some obscure things, and it makes more and more sense what he was doing, even the experimental stuff. I hear more and more, and I understand more and more what he was doing. But at the same time, there's no call for imitating him or his style as far as bass playing goes. One thing that definitely helped me in just understanding how he would run things. And of course he was running his own music. We kind of running his music. But I made a point of really studying and just knowing what it sounds like, or what it can sound like. And maybe learn some different approaches, like newer approaches to it, and that's something I learned from Craig, who's been playing it for a while too. If you hear something introducing it, it might make sense. About inspiration, one of the back when I lived in Soviet Union, one of the first American musicians I met in Moscow was Craig, and he was also one of the people who actually remembered who I was when I came to New York, and I felt that warmth and musical connection, and would come to the session. He'd be like, "Man, go play right away." And of course, he's been at playing Mingus's music for very long time. Although he was he is a very young man, and he was just a kid when he started.
There's only two.
And he played with some of the people who played in the Mingus band, so there's a great lineage, and he's killing musician, who inspired me on multiple occasions, and I'm just always happy to work with him. And anytime when he does other things and cannot be in the band, I miss him intensely. Great candy.
Thank you, Boris. I don't know what the challenge is necessarily, but I just think about it in terms of how strong everybody was personally, like how strong all the musicians were in the band, like it's like Jack Walrath and Jimmy Knepper and John Handy, like these guys, and George Adams, you know, these guys are like very strong personalities in the music. And so I guess the challenge is not to be, you know, just a sideman in the band, and not just to be like, you know, some stuffing inside the turkey or something like that, you know. You have to bring your voice into the music and express yourself. But I think that Charles once said something like, you know, he didn't want anybody that was just going to come in and coast. He wanted people that were going to Torino Jazz Festival continues to bring culture in the form of jazz and whatever else that they're endeavoring to do. It continues to bring it to the people, because, you know, jazz is a continuing art form in America, and it's also, you know, one of the first art forms, and one of the only art forms from America that was recognized by Europe. So I think there's an important link between Europe and America, because jazz was also coming from Europe, you know, in the form of classical music, from the influence on the jazz. So it's something that ties us together, because music ties all people together all over the world. And it's music and mathematics are the two common languages all over the world. It doesn't matter what culture or anything you come from. If you put on music or talk math, everybody knows what you're talking about immediately. Yeah. So you know, every chance I get to express myself to people, or to introduce people to something new, or, you know, something entertaining, you know, it's a great thing to do, and I applaud the people behind the Torino Jazz Festival, and I hope they have continued success.
Thank you.
Well, talking about mathematics, you say it's a second edition. I hope there'll be 102nd edition. And somewhere in between, I hope we can come back to one of these editions. The more the merrier.